So now, as you could see guys, I have completely dismantled the caliper and taken out all the fitments. Like I have taken out the pistons, these are the pistons. I have also taken out the brake pads. I have taken out this particular shelf or clamp, which you could say, that sits on the caliper. I would explain that in some time. Please hang on with the video. I have completely cleaned it with brake cleaner. This is the caliper base, as you could see. It's made of cast aluminium, I believe. I'm not sure though. And the pistons, you know, they go and sit over here. Okay, so I had taken off the pistons. Now this is something which I could not do at home, because you need certain special tools to, you know, pull out the pistons of the cylinder over here. So they go and sit over here like this. Completely they go inside this compartment and stay inside both of them. There are two of them, as we know. It's a 2-piston caliper, so they go in and sit like this. Okay, they stay deep inside, and maybe you have seen a little bit coming out of the caliper when you have your brake pads replaced, or if you sneak into the caliper when it is installed on the motorcycle to check whether the brake pads are in proper shape and size or not. So I'm pretty sure that you must have seen this particular little bit of the piston coming out of it. So the story over here is the brake pads, they stay like this over here. Okay, or maybe the other way around. Yeah, and the brake rotor, it stays in between these two. Okay, the brake disc which is there in the wheel, it stays in between these two brake pads. Okay, and the piston over here, it stays inside this chamber over here, both the pistons. And when we apply the brakes, they gradually push this brake pad. Okay, they gradually push this brake pad. And there is also another mechanism that works with the help of this particular bracket over here, which somewhat when we press the brakes, this piston pushes this brake pad, and due to the mechanism which is present, which I would show you in some time, pushes a tad bit. I mean, this one pushes very little amount, and this one does the major job of pressing the brake pad against the brake rotor, the disc. Okay, so that's basically the story of the brake caliper. So now if you could see inside this chamber. Okay, so I'm very sorry I cannot show you by inserting the piston inside, because if I do so, I won't be able to take it out again. I have to take it to my friend's garage once more and then have it pulled out. So I'm very sorry I cannot show you that. It's a very straightforward thing, so I believe you would understand that the piston stays inside. Okay, inside these chambers, these cylinders, and there are two O-rings over here. I don't know whether, yeah, now I believe you would be able to see. There are two rubber O-rings. Okay, there is one on the outer side, as you could see, this one, and there's one on the inner side. Okay, the inner side is actually doing the job of oil seal, because the brake oil stays over here. Okay, and the brake oil pushes the piston. So this particular O-ring is basically doing the job of sealing the oil. It's stopping the oil from coming out. Okay, and the other one, the one which is on the outer side, is basically a dust seal, just like in our shock absorbers. So this is basically doing the job of sealing all the dust and stopping all the dust from going in from the outside. Okay, so that's basically the job of those two. So now let us concentrate on this particular bracket. Okay, so this is again something which helps the caliper to properly function. So you need to with time you need to grease all these parts. I'll come to it in some time, just give me a moment. So it is installed somewhat like this. Okay, there. Okay, the brake pads, they go on and they sit like this. So there are holder brackets over here, as you could see. The brake pad is going on and sticking over here. This particular portion of the brake pad, this notch, it goes on and sits into this bracket, okay, over there, right? So that particular portion is made up of a metal strip, which also needs to be greased with time to time. I mean, brake grease, not just any other grease. Brake grease is another component which is used in all greasing requirements of the brake caliper. It's a very high temperature grease so that it doesn't melt out when the caliper becomes hot. And for your information, the caliper becomes very, very hot, okay, while using it, of course. So we need a different category of grease over here. So that's why the existence of the brake caliper grease, which is applied on these slider pins. I mean, it slides over here. The brake pad, it slides over here with time when we use the brake, and the piston pushes this brake pad, so it needs to slide up and down, up and down. So for that reason, these places needs greasing from time to time, because you got to understand one thing: this is installed right behind the front wheel. So a lot of dust, lot of debris, lot of mud and everything goes on and hits this particular place, and it gets dirty and mucked up very, very soon. So when you wash your motorcycle, I mean to say, in general wash of the motorcycle, not all the dirt and all the debris goes away. So it all depends. So in your case, if your bike, you run your bike in a very dirty place, or you go on trails, go on off-roading, so it all depends. So if that is the case, then the cleaning interval reduces. Otherwise, in general city use, you could consider completely cleaning or servicing the caliper, the brake caliper, once every 1.5 to 2 years. That should be absolutely enough, until and unless you are facing any kind of issue with your front brakes. So now, that being said, let me take this off and explain about the spring over here. So this you see this metal piece over here, this is basically a spring, okay. There's a spring mechanism. If you could see, if I press this, okay, there's a spring tension working over here, right? So what this does, when the brake pads they stay over here, they rest on top of this particular spring. So in order to, now this is the pin that goes on from this side and secures the brake pad basically, okay. So when we install this particular thing, I'm not doing it now since it is dismantled. So when we install the thing, this spring secures a snug fit. So when we insert that pin and install the brake pad, this particular spring over here, it secures a proper install of the brake pad. I mean to say, so that the brake pad doesn't move around, okay. It's so that it is not loose inside, because the brake pad needs to slide in and out, and at the same time it cannot stay loose. So that's why a spring is required over here for proper installation, and so that the brake pad stays in proper tension. That's why the spring is very, very important over here. That is basically the work of the spring. Now if I take it out, it looks somewhat like this, okay. It stays in mostly all the calipers, rather all the calipers have the spring system in it. So just a straightforward fit, no rocket science over here, right? And yep, now if I come to the topic of servicing, what you need to do with time, like you see, what I do every 1.5 or 2 years, what I generally do is I take off the caliper, I take off this bracket, and of course I do have brake caliper grease, high temperature grease. So we need to grease these pins. This is the pin, this is again another pin, and it goes inside these boots. These are rubber boots, okay. If you could see, these are rubber boots, this particular thing and this particular thing. And as a matter of fact, these are also available in the market in various shapes and sizes, because It depends on the caliper. So if you want, you could get them as a spare as well. And in fewer times they get absolutely bad and needs replacement. So in such cases we go ahead and we replace these boots. Otherwise they generally don't go bad that often and could be reused. And in that case we just need to simply apply a little amount of grease over here, brake grease, and then put, I'm not applying it now since I won't be using it at the moment, I would be storing it. So, and this just goes in like this. Okay, now you got to be very careful. I do not want to tear any rubber particles over here. So you just need to align it properly and put it in. Okay, so you would find kind of a spring action over here as well. Now this is also purely scientific. There's a particular vacuum wing created in these two pins over here, and so this particular push and return thing is happening over here. So that's also something which is a good sign of a caliper. If it doesn't happen, if this return thing doesn't happen, then you need to service or replace these parts over here. Okay, so that is done. And now coming to the pistons. Okay, so once every 1.5 to 2 years you need to inspect the pistons. How is the condition of the piston? Since I said that with time, when the brake pad wears off, the piston, they come out of their chamber and stay out. So while they are staying out, so a lot of dust, debris and whatnot, they go and hit this particular exposed portion of the piston, which in turn goes bad. So if you could see this piston, the condition of this piston, which has been used for around 8,000 kilometers, I would like to say 7 or 8,000 kilometers. So I'm not sure though, maybe somewhat here and there a little bit, but that doesn't matter. So if you could see properly, there are a little bit of marks over here, right? Yeah, exactly. There's a little bit of scuff marks over here. Okay, or it was this one. Let me just check. Yeah, this one, not that one. So if you could see, there are little scuff marks over here, which is not going in normal cleaning. Just concentrate on this particular place and you would find certain marks over there, certain scratches rather. So that is something which happens with time, and there would come a time when you need to completely replace these pistons. Okay, this is also available as a spare, so there's nothing to worry over here. So, and while you replace the pistons, it's a very good practice to replace the O-rings as well. Okay, and sometimes you might have felt that after applying the brakes you don't get a proper feel, and sometimes also we face this particular issue that when when we lift the front wheel off the ground manually and try to rotate the wheel with our hands, the free wheel rotation is not satisfactory. I mean, we are not satisfied with the free wheel rotation. So for that, this sometimes, I mean not always, but most of the times, these O-rings are responsible. Now if these O-rings, if they stop functioning properly, so then only that particular thing happens, that the free wheel rotation does not take place properly. Because you have to understand, when we press the brakes, okay, this particular piston, I mean the pair of piston, I'm showing one over here, it goes out like this, and when we release the brake, it is supposed to come back a little bit as well, to release the brake and release the pressure in the brake rotor. So the returning part depends a lot on these O-rings. Okay, if the O-rings go bad, then the return function does not happen properly. Okay, so which in turn ends up in a kind of a jammed wheel. So in those cases you need to inspect the brake caliper, and if required you need to replace these O-rings, and accordingly you have to also check the piston for any scuff marks or such corrosions, and if required you need to replace the pistons as well. Now this is more required for people who go off-roading, for people who ride motorcycle in a lot of mud, in a lot of dirty terrains, and for people who do simple city riding, these issues doesn't generally come up. But if it does come up, then these are the things which you need to check. Okay, and now coming to the other characteristics of this particular caliper, you see this hole over here. Now this is the entry point for the brake fluid. Okay, there is that pipe you might have seen in your motorcycle. Now see this caliper, it's Nissan written over here, it stays like this in a motorcycle, and you might have seen that hose pipe which gets connected over here with the help of that 12 bolt. Okay, now that's a banjo bolt. So that hose gets connected over here. So this is the entry point for the brake fluid to the brake caliper, and this is the bleeder valve. Okay, after you install a caliper in the motorcycle, do all the necessary stuffs, fill the master cylinder with the brake oil and all such stuffs. So you need to bleed the brakes as well for proper brake action. So that is done with the help of this particular brake bleeding valve. So I would make a separate dedicated video, as I have said many times in my earlier videos, regarding how you bleed your brakes. So that video will be up once my brake pads are completely worn off and I replace it, and then only I would be able to replace the complete brake fluid in the system, brake system of the motorcycle, and then I would show you all how I bleed the brakes of the motorcycle. Okay, so that is pretty much it, guys, regarding this. I just wanted to share the quick infos of a brake caliper which stays in a motorcycle. Now this is the caliper for the CB Highness CB350, but this particular theory goes more or less the same with all disc brake operated motorcycles. The caliper mechanism stays the same, just a little bit of changes here and there in the design of the caliper, but mostly it remains unchanged and it functions in a similar manner. So that's it, guys. I hope I was able to share some information over here. If you find this video informative, if you find this video interesting, please do not forget to hit the like button and share this video with your friends and family. Please have a wonderful day ahead, guys. Please take good care of yourself. Have fun in life. Okay, bye bye.